What's up, guys? Thank you so much, first and foremost, for coming on to the YouTube channel as always, or if you're listening to this on Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, whatever it is, thank you guys so much for doing that. The fact that anyone is listening makes me more energetic, gives me more energy, gives me the knowledge that at least someone wants to improve, right? At least someone sees what I'm doing and wants to improve. I want to start off this whole podcast just basically giving you guys my story, basically giving you guys the reason why I'm doing this, and who knows, maybe you'll get some lessons along the way that will help you in your game. So first and foremost, I started this podcast to speak the truth. Number one, first and foremost, honestly, I don't answer to anyone. I don't answer to anyone except maybe my fiance, right? But I have right now, I'm 26 years old. I have no allegiances or no alliances with anyone. No one's off limits, right? No, when you listen to the podcast, and I'm just gonna go off on a tangent real quick. When you listen to these other podcasts, you hear them, favoring certain players, favoring certain organizations, and for me, that obviously makes it not genuine, right? That obviously makes it not how it should be. So for me, I want this podcast to literally just be honest. When I call it the Offside podcast, because people will see what I'm saying. Sometimes they'll see what I'm saying and it'll be offside, right? It'll be a little bit offside for them. However, just because the flag goes up doesn't mean I don't run again, right? I'm going to run again and again and again. And some of the things I say might be controversial, but I truly believe that with all my heart, at the end of the day, I'm in this to help people, to help players, young and old, honestly, to help players and coaches and parents to see the truth, I started this podcast because I like to talk, number one. First and foremost, I like to talk. My voice isn't the greatest. My speech is not bad. I like to read and I like to learn and stuff like that. My speech isn't bad, but I like to talk, right? I like to talk, but ask my fiance, when I first meet someone, I'm very quiet. I'm very aware, and I'm trying to gauge what is this person all about? What is their energy, right? And so for this podcast, it's just me. I'm gonna bring guests on. I have some good guests lined up this month for you guys, and I've sneak peeked a couple of them that are coming on, but I wanted this podcast to be between me and you, right? I wanted to be between me and you, and I wanted to talk, some real truths, some real things that have happened to me this year that have changed my mentality, changed my focus, changed my perspective on life in general. Just in general. Soccer is obviously included in that. So first and foremost, at the beginning of this year, I was to start the year, I was in London, England. Okay, I was in London, England on January 1st with my at the time girlfriend, right? So we went on a little trip to Europe and to England, to France, and then we went to Germany, obviously. But it was an exciting time for me and my fiance. You can ask her. I don't know necessarily how excited she was, but it was good. It was very, very good. We were for New Year's, we were in London. It was a tough time, but it is what it is. London's crazy at New Year's. If you want my advice, London's not the place to go for New Year's. Do not go to London. Very, very difficult. Didn't even get to see any fireworks. Whatever. A couple of days later, we went over to France, right? So we got on the train and we got over to France. I proposed at the Eiffel Tower. And then now we're together, right? So all that happened within a couple of days. I had already known, and I'd already signed a contract to go to Germany right after. So it was just a short journey rather, to Germany right after. And, but my fiance had to go home, right? So my fiance went home by herself. I went to Germany, and it was my first time. I think it was my first time feeling somewhat homesick, right? And a little bit about my background. when I was 14, I went to England for the first time with my dad, and I trained with two clubs. One was called Sheffield Wednesday. They're in the Championship. And then the other club is called West Ham United, right? And all you guys know West Ham United if you're listening to this. And I mean, that in itself was a great experience. I had just come off appendicitis. I had just come off of appendix surgery. I had my appendix removed and I was in bed for 2 months. 2 months later, I'm in England playing at West Ham and Sheffield Wednesday, respectively. And yeah, the West Ham trip did not go well. I underperformed. It was not great. It was not good, but it was an experience. And I'll get back to that in a second, but then I went to Sheffield Wednesday and I fell in love with it. I absolutely fell in love with it. And I had to go back, right? I had to go back. So the next year I went back for a little bit longer this time, okay? And I trained with the U18s. I was 15 at the time. I trained with the U18s. And it's just a great experience. It's just a great experience being over there in a country that loves, eats, breathes, sleeps soccer, right? Sleeps, in the office the next day. It's an absolute war. Manchester United won against Man City. The office is red. The office is red, right? Although that never happens, but Arsenal, Tottenham, the city's red, right? So for me, being in that city taught me a lot. It taught me a lot. Even to this day, I still feel like that was the trip that really started my whole career, right? When I was 8, I said I wanted to be a professional footballer. I saw Thierry Henry on the TV playing for Arsenal Football Club at Highbury, scoring a goal, coming in on the left, hitting it with his right. Typical Thierry Henry, and I fell in love with it, and I wanted to be a pro. After 14, going to England and seeing what it actually meant to be a pro, actually watching a real professional match, I knew that that's what I wanted, and I now had an idea of how to get there, right? So think about that for 1 second. Let me pause on that real quick. Not only did I have a goal, not only did I have a dream, okay? It wasn't a goal at the time, it was a dream. It was a dream. Not only did I have a dream, but I had an idea of how to get there. An idea. I didn't know for a fact that if I did 15 sit-ups a day that I would get there. I knew for a fact, though, that it was possible. I had played with them. I had played with guys on professional contracts at the age of 15. I had played with them. Now, was I at their level? In my opinion, yes. However, who knows? Who knows? But what I want you guys to take away from this is that I didn't just have a dream. I had a measure. I had a measurement of where I needed to get to. Yes, I was not there, but I knew where it was now. Okay? And the thing is, climbing a mountain is hard. Climbing a mountain is very, very hard. However, the person who doesn't even try to climb the mountain, that's a different type of psychological hard. Not knowing not even trying. I know I digress right now, but just think about that. Think about that. If me and you had to climb a mountain and the mountain's right there and I start climbing it, yes, it's gonna be very, very difficult to climb it. I'm gonna have to push through it, depending on how high the mountain is, obviously, but I'm gonna have to push through it, get to the top. But the person who never even tries to climb, they will have to deal with that for the rest of their life. They didn't even try. So the fact that I was able to go to England and actually see what it was like, to see actually how high that mountain was, to see where the starting point was of that mountain, yes, I had a long way to go, but at least I was going to try, right? So right now, my thing to you right now is, what's your mountain? It could be anything. I want players to understand that it's not about going pro. Just because your friend Tommy goes pro does not mean you have to go pro. And yes, you say obviously, but we live in a world where people look to their right and look to their left, and that's how they gauge how successful they are in terms of soccer, in terms of life. So I want to tell you right now, stop looking to your right and stop looking to your left. What do you want? What do you want? And once you know what you want, then you can be happy for Tommy for going pro. then you could be satisfied and content with the fact that you went to college, got it paid for, and became a doctor. There's nothing wrong with that. Your goals are just as big time, just as important as Tommy, who wanted to go pro. Right? So I want to get that out there right now. That whatever your goal is, make sure that it's a goal that you actually want, that you're actually willing to wake up for every single day and put in the work for. What is your mountain? What is your mountain? So I went to England, 15 years old, loved it. Trained with the 18s, absolutely loved it. It was the most fun I had had playing soccer up to that point. I came back, I now knew where I needed to go, and I trained every single day. If you guys have followed me on Instagram, you guys know my story. I would be up every single day for 3.5 years, every single day, 4:30 in the morning. I would walk a mile in Minnesota in the cold. Every single day, I would walk a mile in the cold every single day to the dome. We had a dome, luckily, in Minnesota. And I would walk to the dome early in the morning, right when it opened at 5:30. And I would take a ball and I would work. And I'll get into how to actually work hard for young players. Like, I'll get into that in another podcast or in another YouTube video. But I want you guys to understand, first and foremost, and I'm going to go back to it, first and foremost, I not only had a dream, but I had a measure. I knew where I needed to get to, right? And I feel like a lot of kids nowadays don't have a measure. You guys just want to get better. You guys just want to get better today. You guys just want to go get 1% better today. What is your actual goal, though? What is your actual dream? What do you actually want to do? Right? And I think that's the difference now in our society, is that we allow kids to have arbitrary goals. I want to get better. I want to improve. I want to take my game to the next level. Where is that? Where's the next level? Where's the end goal? What's the end goal of all this? Why are we doing this? Having fun is not, it doesn't work like that. You can't just go out and have fun. I'm telling you right now, I've trained, with my video analysis, I've trained over 60 players this year alone. I started the company in March. I've trained over 60 players, testimonials and all that stuff. Some of them multiple times. I've trained many young players as a coach. So with teams, having fun does not work. Having fun, saying just have fun, let's play today and have fun, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. Kids are much more motivated than you think. Kids want to work much more than you think they want to. Hold them to a high standard, and then they'll have fun. Having fun comes from hard work. Having fun comes from winning. Having fun comes from putting in your full effort. And I'm telling you right now, kids don't know their full effort. I'll talk about that another time, but kids don't know their full effort. Adults don't know their full effort. David Goggins talks about this, that when you want to give up, when your mind says, I'm done, you're only 40% of your capacity. The 40% rule. I always had one in high school. During this time that I was, grinding, I had this, I used this saying, your mind quits 1,000 times before your body, right? So anytime I thought to myself, oh, you should quit, or, oh, fake an injury, oh, your hamstrings hurt, something like that, I would always count them. Okay, that's one. And then I would say, and I'd be running and I'd be like, oh, you could slow down, like just get with everyone else. Everyone else is way behind you. That's two. I would count until I got to 1,000 excuses. Obviously, I never got to 1,000 excuses, but I just said, basically what you're telling yourself at 1,000 is, as you're counting and you're saying, okay, at 1,000, I'll stop. What you're saying to yourself is, we're never going to get there, so just stop. Like, we're never going to get to 1,000 excuses. The workout's going to be over by then. So just stop. Just stop talking. And that's what worked, and it worked for me. Every single day I was up every day I was up 4:30 in the morning. I would walk a mile and put in work before school. After, literally during school, I would not eat lunch. I would go outside and I would work 30 minutes. I would work on my fitness. I would work on something that I could do in 30 minutes, obviously, but I would work on things like passing. I would do like 500 passes with each foot and go back into class, right? Just stuff like that. But in class, I was always watching video. Like I'm not advocating for not going to class. I'm not advocating for any of that stuff. This is just what I did. Because I was like, saying that I was hungry is such an understatement. I had the biggest chip on my shoulder. I wanted to prove every person wrong. I wasn't getting picked for national teams. I wasn't getting seen as from people as like the star kid, the star player. I had a chip on my shoulder. I felt like I was better than everyone. But I knew that I had the work though. I knew I had the work. And my confidence came from knowing that I outworked every single person in the country. I was the hardest working player in the country, bar none. I will bring my teammates from that time on, and they will tell you I was the hardest working player in the country for 3 years straight. Some of you guys are rolling your eyes. Whatever. I was the hardest working player in the country for 3 years straight. No doubt. I got the accolades eventually. I got player of the week for the whole country. I got top 33 players in the country from my age group twice in a row. We won our league twice in a row. We were number one team in the country in high school twice. And guys, I'm not talking about high school soccer. I'm talking about a development academy. I'm talking about MLS clubs in there. I've done it, guys. When it comes to the youth, I've done it. I've been to England. Was on trial with Sheffield Wednesday 3 times. The second time I was there for 2 months and got let go because of visa problems, right? So frustrating times. Came back, just went to the national championship. But guys, and parents and coaches who are listening, I want you guys to understand this about kids, about high school kids, about young kids even. They want to work. You're giving them an out. They want to work, but you're giving them an out. You have to push them. They don't know their level. They don't know their limits. They will quit at any opportunity. You give them an exit, they will take it. Stop babying these kids. Stop babying them. They are much tougher, much stronger than you think. Put them to the test. Stress them out. And then afterwards, tell them good job, right? So push positive. I can't wait to get this podcast started, guys, because I'm going to be bringing on psychologists. I'm going to be bringing on agents. I'm going to be bringing on all sorts of things, and not just talking about what they do, but talking about the psychology behind it, telling you guys the actual truth. I'm going to be giving you guys the actual truth. I'm going to be telling you guys all about the highs of my career, the lows of my career, the tough times, the good times. But I'll say this as well, continuing with my story. Once I got to college, it was a steady decline after that. So my first year, I was a freshman. Obviously, started every game. I just come off of a high school, a development academy team that made it to the finals. I came in college at Southern Illinois University at Edwardsville. I just come in. Looking back, I was cocky for sure, but I'd rather a kid come in and be cocky than a kid come in and be not confident, be not cocky, be not back himself. But it was a steady decline, right? So my first year, I played every single minute as a freshman. The next year I came in, played every single minute as a sophomore. Had a coach come in, Mario Sanchez came in and basically told me straight up, like, you don't work hard enough. You don't work hard enough. And guys, I'm being honest here. And I use Mario's name because nowadays I see 100% of the benefits that Mario brought to me. Right? At the time, I thought he was, emotional. I thought he was, I knew he was a good coach. He came from Louisville. I knew he was a good coach. But when he came in, I thought we saw eye to eye. I thought he knew that this was my last year as a junior. I thought he knew that I was going to go to the MLS draft after my junior year. We talked about it. We talked about how I had interest from MLS clubs. So then why did he bench me for most of the season? Was he trying to ruin my career? Was he trying to, make me not want to play the game of soccer again? Looking back, I see all of it perfectly. At the time, I would go home, I would cry. I would go home and I would just wonder, like, what is this? What all happened? And to this day, I can't thank Mario enough. I cannot thank him enough for doing what was best for the team. I don't even think he did it for me. I don't even think he did it to teach me a lesson or to teach me that this is how it's done or to show me that he's the boss or anything like that. I don't think he did any of that. I think he did it solely for the team. And now as a coach, I see everything that he did and I see myself doing the same things. So if you're listening, Mario, thank you so much. Thank you so much. You know what happened later? I went pro and I sat the bench my first year. But that was fine because I knew how to navigate that. I knew how to come in every single Monday when no one else came in, except for the subs. There's about 8 of us there. I was the hardest worker every single day. As a pro, I was the hardest worker every single day. On the Monday, when all the subs came in, I was the hardest worker. That was thanks to Mario. Teaching me that, yes, you might be a good player. You might be one of the smartest players on the team. You might be, the type of player that, can go into a game and do very, very well. However, right now, you're in your own way, and it's messing with the team. And it's messing with our team cohesion. It's messing with us. So I'm not going to sacrifice the team so that you can continue to increase your career or that you can just say that you played every single game. You got to earn it. And there was a player that played in front of me named Paul, shout out Paul, who in my opinion had no business being in front of me. Had no business being in front of me. That at the end of that season, I was so humbled. I texted Paul and I said, thank you so much. Thank you so much for never, ever coming to training and giving anything less than your best. Thank you so much for owning that position and going out there and playing so well that you upped my game. You upped my game mentally and physically. When things get hard, are you going to quit? Talking later to our assistant coach, Scott Gillenborg, shout out Scott, talking to him later, we talked about how the whole coaching staff thought I was going to quit. They thought I was going to quit because I wasn't playing, because I'm used to playing. I'll talk more about this situation later on in different podcasts and really get deep into it. I'm just giving you guys an overview right now, but talking to Gil later, they all thought I was going to quit. They all thought I was gonna transfer out of there. I had offers. I had not offers, but I had interest. I had talked to other schools. I could have gone to, at the time, probably a better school, soccer-wise. But I remember going into those doors. I remember going in to SIUE and saying, the only way I leave this place is better than I found it. The only way I leave SIUE is if the soccer team is at a better level than I came in. And I did that. I came in, not just me, obviously, not just me. It was the teams around me, players around me, coaches around me, physios, all that stuff. It took a team. But I said that. We're going to come in. And we had top level players there when I first got there. My senior year, we went further than they had ever been. Further than they had been for the last 50 years. So I accomplished what I said. I know how to achieve goals. Okay, and I did an IG live today actually with a group of players who came in on the IG live, and it's still there, IGTV. And I went over goal setting. I know what it takes to achieve goals. I know what it takes. Right now with this podcast, right now with this Instagram and this brand, I'm setting goals and I know that I'm going to achieve them. I know that I'm going to achieve them. It's going to take time. It's going to take hard work. It's going to get tough. Just like being a pro. just like being a top-level high school player, just like being a top-level college player, all that stuff, it's going to take time and it's going to be hard. It's going to be lonely at times, even though I have a beautiful fiance who supports me like no other, doesn't understand what I do sometimes, but supports me nonetheless. Even with that, it's going to be lonely sometimes. People don't understand necessarily what I think, what I do, how I do it, like why I say what I say, why I get mad at refs and throw player cards all over the place. I'm passionate. I love what I do every single day. I love it. I love talking to you guys. I love the DMs. I love the comments. And you guys should know that because I respond to every single one of them. You guys are my energy. My players that I coach here in Jacksonville, the players that I coach, I love it. I love it. I love seeing them improve. I love seeing them push through barriers. I love when they make mistakes, but then they come back the next day, happy, ready to play. So, my goal for this podcast is simply to be able to use it as an outlet for me to just tell the truth. I've been a pro. I can come in here and talk news with you. I could talk current events. I could talk, about Messi's goal. I could talk about Ronaldo's bike. I could talk about this kind of stuff. I could talk to you about Pep Guardiola's tactics and stuff like that. I could do that. But I want to tell you guys I want to tell you guys the truth. I want to tell you guys the truth. And yes, I'm telling you about my journey, but I don't want to when I bring guests on, it's not going to be about their journey. You know what it's going to be about? How did you feel when you got cut from the team? What did you do the night after? I'll tell you guys a quick story. In high school, this is the year literally, that summer, I was set to sign a contract with Sheffield Wednesday. We prolonged it. We prolonged my visa. I was there 2 months, came into the office. They said, we can't do it. We can't get the visa across. You got to go back home. I said, all right, okay. I've always been able to take it under the chin, I realized. So I've always been able to, and a lot of coaches have gotten mad at me because they'll tell me something. I mean, here's another story. In college, we had a depth chart, and basically our coach would put it up every single day and say, you know what, you weren't very good in training today. You're our third best center back. He put it up there and he brought me into his office and he said, Andrew, you haven't been playing well. I'm going to put a freshman and a sophomore above you. I was a senior. I said, okay. Shook his hand and I walked out. And he goes, wait. Did you hear what I said? I said, yeah. What else can I do? What else can I do right now in this office? I'm not going to beg. I'm not going to tell, what am I supposed to do? All I can do is come back better tomorrow. I was talking to my mom today and I said, 5 minutes on the problem, the rest on the solution. 5 minutes on the problem, however long it takes for the solution. That's my motto. That's what I live by. That's my formula. So going back to high school, I got my fifth yellow card, okay? That year in high school, I think I got 18 yellow cards during the season. I was the number one yellow card receiver in the season. I got 2 suspensions. Still got starting 11 of the country, but whatever. But we went into the locker room after I got my 5th yellow. So I was suspended for the next game, and I started crying and I said, guys, I this is my life. This is my life. That's why I'm so passionate. I actually got a yellow for protecting one of my teammates. He got tackled, no call, big boy, Robbie Sagal, 6'4", 6'3", got tackled and he's going down, he's rolling around, never goes down, never rolls around. I said, ref, what are you doing? Obviously not in a nice way, but I said, ref, what are you doing? Yellow card. I was suspended for the next game. And my coach said, you let down the team. And I said, what do you mean? I was protecting my teammate. I was being a good teammate. He's like, no. One teammate's down, and then you're basically down now as well. You basically took a fall for him. It was an excuse to yell at a referee that had not had a good game. So I say that to say, you guys have to understand that this is a long game, okay? First and foremost, this is a long game. If you want to be a pro, if you want to go to college, if you want to just be the best high school player you can be, it's a long game. You have to work hard for a long time. And going back in high school, every single day for 3.5 years, guys, for 3.5 years, I woke up at 4:30 in the morning, packed 2 bags, put on 3 jackets, and walked 1 mile to put in some work on a soccer field, What are you willing to put, what are you willing to sacrifice? How much work are you willing to put in for this? Right? So I'm super excited about this podcast. It gives me an opportunity to sit in front of a camera for an extended period of time and just tell you guys how I feel, right? I know I skipped around today, but I know that through this process, we're all going to get better. We're all going to understand a little bit more about what it takes in this game. For me, it's the podcast media game, trying to get better lighting, trying to get better aesthetics, trying to get better notes and all that stuff. However, the notes will be here in the show notes. The actual notes for the podcast will be below it'll be in a little Google Doc, I think. They'll be below. All the notes for this podcast, and every podcast will be down there. Check that out. But yeah, guys, I just want to leave you guys with basically a little summary of what I was trying to say today. Hopefully I got it across. But basically, guys, first and foremost, you guys have to have a dream, not even a goal. But what's your dream? What's your dream? Once you have a dream, you have to have a measure of that somehow. Whatever it takes. Go to an MLS game. If you want to play in the MLS, go to an MLS game. See how they move. See how they talk. See how they hold themselves, and just try to be that. Right? Just try to be that in your own way, but just try to be that. I was able to go to England at a young age and actually train with the guys who I wanted to emulate, to be. Some of you guys might know Mikel Antonio in the Premier League. I trained with him during that when I was 17. So just seeing those guys every single day, I literally saw Danny Bath, who actually played at Wolves for a while, captained Wolves. I saw him do this one push-up exercise, and when I got back to the US, that's all I did, right? So that's all I did, is that push-up exercise. So what's your dream? What's your dream? And then make a sacrifice to go and see what it actually takes to be in that dream. So go to a game and watch the game and really study the game. Come back and try to put it to use, right? In addition to that, it's going to be a hard road, but you gotta understand that it's a long game, guys. It's a long game. Success does not come overnight, and I know you've heard that. But I'm honestly telling you guys, and I'll talk about this another time. You only get better. You're only able to find the perfect solution, find the perfect routine through working, adjusting, and then going again. Working, adjusting, and then going again. So guys, I appreciate you guys coming on this podcast. I appreciate you guys watching the first ever episode, listening to the first ever episode, however you choose to watch, hear, or read this. This will also be in the blog. But yeah, I just appreciate you guys. I want you guys to know that I'm super excited for 2021. I have big goals, and I know you guys do as well. I'm trying to help you guys. At the end of the day, this is a podcast to help you guys in your future endeavors in your career. Whether you're a coach, whether you're a player, whether you're whatever, whether you're just a stay-at-home mom who just wants to learn a little bit about soccer and the ins and outs. Yeah, I appreciate you guys, and I'll see you guys on the next podcast. What's up, guys? Thank you so much for joining me here on the podcast. Real quick, before you go, if you don't mind, just hit that subscribe button. If you're on YouTube, if you're not, still hit that subscribe button on the Apple. Like it on the Spotify. Thank you guys so much for staying to the end of the podcast. Real quick, if you don't mind, go hit the subscribe button. Leave a comment, a review. That way I can know how I can work on this and make this better. This is a process, guys, just like I always say. Work hard, find out what doesn't work, improve it, and then work hard again. So guys, if you don't mind, go in the review section, leave me a quick review, preferably a 5-star rating, and tell me how I can improve it. Tell me how I can get better. Thank you guys, and see you guys next time on the podcast.